Hi, I'm Margarita, and if you are a New Earth leader who is creating all these powerful things in the world, creating what's called the New Earth on this planet, then this topic may interest you because it's happening across the board with a lot of leaders. I'm noticing this. I've also seen this in my own life at times. And that topic is, are you outgrowing your old leadership identity? And this is the frequency shift that multidimensional leaders feel. And so the reason I'm talking about this today is because it's something that's coming up a lot with my private clients, with other multidimensional leaders, those who are leading what is called the new earth on this planet and really creating this heaven on earth, if you will. And so there's a lot of shifting. And in order for things to shift, a lot of old things have to kind of fall away. And so that's happening a lot. So if you're feeling this a lot, like maybe you're even questioning, you know, you don't even recognize yourself as the leader that you thought you were, or maybe you feel that you've outgrown it, or maybe you feel it's not aligned, or what you've done in the past does not really reflect who you are now. If you're experiencing that and you're feeling a little confused by it, then you're in the right place. And I'm going to share with you what is going on right now. And so I'm going to share with you some of the things that are actually going on, how that might look like for you. And then I'll just go really quickly, deeply into one or two of these topics just to flesh it out a little bit more for you so that you have a better understanding, as well as give you some next steps on how you can address this in your own life. Because believe me, it's happening across the board. We are shifting and upgrading on very powerful levels. And this is all because we are receiving massive DNA upgrades from the cosmic rays, from the solar sun codes, the Solaris codes, from the Schumann resonance coming up from Gaia. We are getting so many upgrades on a really big level. And so we're upgrading, upgrading, upgrading. And in order to make room for those upgrades, you actually need to let go of the things that are no longer aligned with what you're moving towards. So that might look like, and I'll give you some examples, the practices that once kept your energy clear and pristine no longer have the same effect. So I started noticing this a couple years ago already, where some of my regular typical stuff to clear energy, clear your frequency and all that stuff, it's okay, but it's not as potent as it once was. That's because what is being called for now is a new energy. It's a new frequency, and you get to have new tools and develop new tools around that. And this is something I discussed with my private clients as well, because a lot of them are already in that nuanced place in their lives where they're already having these energy boundaries and they have really great energy hygiene, and they just kind of are noticing that what they've been doing is not really working the same way as it used to. So there's even an upgrade in how you even clear your energies. And so that's something that you get to tap into because every person is different. So something that might work for me may not necessarily work for you, but then also this is something where you get to tap into your own expansion and your own tools. The second thing I would mention that how this is affecting New Earth leaders is that your signature offers that once felt magnetic are now starting to feel really heavy, or they feel unaligned, or you're just not lit up by it. And that is because as you are shifting energetically and even physically, which I'll get to in a moment, everything is shifting. And so even the way you are showing up in the world and serving is shifting. So let's say you have a certain program and you've done really well with that. You've really loved it. It's gotten results for your clients and you felt like it's been really supporting them and you felt really lit up by them. In contrast, maybe it's not really feeling the same right now. Maybe it's feeling outdated. Maybe it's feeling like you need to upgrade it a little bit, or maybe you just feel like scrapping it all together because you're just like, this is not me at all right now. And so I'm noticing this with my private clients as well as other multidimensional leaders who are experiencing this in their lives. And so this is really proof that your leadership field is expanding. And so it's really up to you to connect in with, okay, then what am I getting to serve at now? At what level am I serving now? What can that look like? And how can that be reflected in my offerings and in my services? Another thing, and very related to that, is that your clients who were once perfect for you are no longer aligned. So you're basically upgrading, shifting, growing quickly, accelerating. And I know I'm doing a lot of that right now where I'm just like, shh, just growing really fast. But some of these individuals who you may feel have been super aligned at one point were amazing clients are not the same kinds of clients that you are now attracting because your frequency has changed and upgraded and you have upgraded, and so will your clients. And so those who are ready to shift with you, to accelerate with you, and to grow with you at that level, at that new level that you are resonating at, they're going to be the ones who are going to be moving forward with you. And so this is really amazing. And it's something to actually celebrate, because what I'm noticing too is that as these upgrades are happening and showing up, there are a lot of people who are still hanging on. They're like white knuckling their lives or their prior identity. And I'm going to talk into the identity piece in a moment. But when you white knuckle it, then you're actually opening into a scarcity mindset, because scarcity comes from that whole thing of like, if I let go, I will not have, I will not be supported. And that is a scarcity mindset. And that has to do with love. It can do with money. It can happen also in your business. All aspects of your life can reflect this. And one thing I have noticed is that when one aspect of your life reflects something, naturally the rest of your life will also reflect this. And that's just the way things roll. So that's one thing to notice. And then the next thing I would mention is that your body is showing signs of recalibration. So this is very exciting and also maybe kind of uncomfortable, depending what kinds of upgrades you're getting. But your sleep, the kinds of foods you eat, maybe your diet is changing, the way you want to rest, like all of that, like how you interact with people, like everything that you do with your body might now be shifting and likely is. And so I know a lot of times my sleep habits change, or not the habits, but just like my sleeping quality will shift, if we're having solar flares, because I feel really charged up by that. And so you too are probably noticing that your physical body is shifting and changing, and that your body is feeling different. And it's literally giving you hints and clues as to how to move forward or not. And so that looks a lot like maybe you're sleeping a lot earlier than usual. Maybe you're totally wired and you can't sleep at night now. Maybe you are attracted to certain foods, whereas they really grossed you out before, or they were not aligned, and maybe certain foods that you had sensitivities to before you're not sensitive to now, or maybe you are creating and having new sensitivities with your diet. It really depends. And also, a lot of people now are resting more in the day, which I do recommend. I mean, even when, I was seeing back-to-back clients and patients, especially with acupuncture, that was something that I was already, saying, hey, you should probably rest more, give yourself time to recharge. And that was also because I was doing this in New York City, where I was having back-to-back patients. And I'm glad I don't have back-to-back patients these days, because that was really intense to deal with. But at the time it was aligned. And so for me, that was one of those things I grew from, right? Like the way I ran my business is different now. And so in regards to your body, you might notice that you want to take naps. And I would recommend that. I wouldn't recommend taking a 4-hour nap, for instance, maybe something more like 15 minutes, a half hour, or 20 minutes, something like that, to really just recharge you, because your body is going to naturally, just because it is originally carbon-based, and I say originally because a lot of us are upgrading into that plasmic crystalline frequency and having these upgrades. And I know that I've been experiencing that a lot. And so as you upgrade into those forms, then you are going to start to refract and reflect light much more easily and much more quickly. And you're going to really be moving at the speed of light. And so your body actually needs to kind of catch up, because it's super physical, obviously. And so you want to allow your physical body and your vessel to upgrade, to hold the energetic transmissions that you are now fielding and integrating. So that's a part of it too. And then you will find yourself unwilling to compromise your own values and who you are when it comes to relationships or collaborations. And so obviously this can take place either in your personal life, in your spiritual business, but where you may have been more open to complying or acquiescing or saying yes to a lot more things, you might be noticing that you are no longer willing to do that. Like you have standards now and you are adhering to those standards. And having standards is number one, very important. It's like literally vital to you as a human being who is a star being at that, who's a star seed, and also as a spiritual entrepreneur. Because if you are just super open with your energy field, and I know a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs actually do this, and that's why I'm sharing this, because this is something you get to avoid, is that one of the mistakes they make is that their energy field is just wide open. Like the gates are open, anyone and everyone can come in. And you've heard me talk about in previous videos about how that actually is dangerous, because then that does not only affect you and your being and who you are, but then that will directly affect your higher work and your sacred work, because then you're going to be just like this sponge of everyone else's energies without being super in discernment with your own. And when you are a high level mentor, coach, visionary, multidimensional leader, it is tantamount to be really in touch with your own energy and to be very cultivated in your own energy and really being aware of what belongs to you and what doesn't energetically. And so that is really, really important to have those standards, to have the standards of what you are allowing in your field, what you're not allowing in your field. This can even come down to what you're ingesting on social media and being very conscientious about understanding what the impact may be for you if you, let's say, watch a certain live stream or watch a certain podcast or watch a certain video, right? You want to make sure that you're conscious about what you are ingesting, because everything you're ingesting is influencing you right now. And so that said, now bringing it into your identity as a leader. So your identity as a leader, that may be changing. And that is actually something to celebrate, because whatever you are shifting out of is actually no longer aligned for you. It was at one point until it's not. And that can be in how you have defined yourself as a leader. Like maybe you say, oh, I'm a multidimensional leader who does X, Y, and Z. Or it might be in the way you lead your business. And maybe the way you lead your business is a certain way, and you have certain offerings, and maybe they look a certain way, or you present them a certain way, or maybe you promote them a certain way. And any of those things may just simply not be aligned for you anymore. And so these are things that you get to create some awareness around, because they just might no longer fit for you. And you don't need to create any judgment around it. And in fact, it's just you becoming and blossoming into what's next for you. And so with you, your sacred work, your voice, all of that is shifting right now, especially your voice, because a lot of times your intuition, which is very much alive when you are a new earth leader and you're working with your intuition, you already know what your gifts are, you've honed them, you've cultivated them, you've probably even created a whole spiritual business around your intuition. And that's something that I know I have, right? Because I have these gifts and abilities that I've used to really help others to acknowledge their own in a higher way. So we are meant to do that, right? We are meant to share our gifts. And when you're a new earth leader, you've created a spiritual business around it. You are impacting others' lives and helping other people transform their lives in really powerful, tangible ways through your sacred work. And it might be looking a little different these days. Maybe you're questioning it. Maybe, some people are just burning it all down, and I don't know if I'd recommend that. There might be some parts that you might want to shift out. Like for some people, they might want to shift out their offerings. Maybe they're just not aligned anymore, or maybe it just takes a simple tweak. Maybe it doesn't need to all be burned to the ground. Maybe it's just a tweak here, a tweak there in the way your systems are, in maybe your team that you hire, in the support that you have, or maybe the way you provide your services, right? Maybe instead of doing them in all Zoom calls, for instance, maybe it's in person. Maybe things are shifting in those kinds of tweaks. But others are actually having a whole new identity crisis. And if that's you, I don't think you should panic. And I don't recommend that you do, because this is all actually part of your own upgrade. And this is actually something I'm celebrating for you. So if you are experiencing a massive identity crisis, you are on point, you are on time, and that's amazing because you are expanding into what's next for you. The only thing I would recommend is to let go of micromanaging and kind of controlling this and kind of being that micromanager over what's going on right now, because a lot of it is also what your higher self and your highest self is calling you forward to experience. And that will mean that old versions of you are going to shift. And in some days and sometimes that might die off, right? And all of that is necessary so that you can open into what's greater for you. So your identity as a leader shifting, that is amazing. Allow yourself to open to that. Allow yourself to be led. And this is a perfect time to really connect in with God. And speaking about God and about energy and about higher frequencies, the last point I'll make is that the rituals that once opened you to energy now feel restrictive. And so you are being called to directly connect in with God, source, universe, great spirit, however you call it. You are being called to connect in directly at that level without needing to channel middlemen, as I'll call them, right? Like without saying, calling in this God, calling in this goddess, calling all these intermediaries. First of all, the thing I'll say about that is that, and this is something that I've mentioned in a previous video, is that there are a lot of people out there right now who are saying, oh, I'm a channel of so-and-so, I'm a channel of this ascended master, I'm a channel of this and that, right? But I often caution amongst, my private clients, I caution them to just really dive head into connecting with people like that, just because those who are I would say that the majority of the people who are channeling aren't actually channeling what they say they're channeling. And oftentimes they're not channeling beings of light or energies of light. And that is because they are not really connected in with their own God self, and they're being influenced. And also part of that is too, not being in energetic, pristine energy, right? They're not clear in their energy field and they're not clear in their vessel. And so I would not recommend just following whoever is out there just because they're saying they're channeling someone that they see is amazing, right? I would recommend just focusing in on you, focusing in on your direct connection to source, God, great spirit, universe. Because when you go direct, you don't need to go with, all these middlemen and all these different people. Because a lot of times too, those who are presenting as beings of light are sometimes not beings of light. And there are, of course, people who may channel, and it is clear and it is pristine and it's coming from a very high frequency place and it's coming from their own God self. And that is great. But I would say overall, the majority of the people who are saying, look at me, I'm channeling so-and-so and all this other stuff, that really makes me, kind of err on the side of caution, just because a lot of people are not really taking care of their own energy fields right now. They're not really practicing energy hygiene, I'll just call it. So this is leadership that goes to the next level, because then you are connecting directly into your own connection with God and your own connection with source, great spirit, universe. And that's really important, because that is directly connected to your own divine embodiment, and that you cannot fake. because there are a lot of fake people out there who are saying, I am a channel of this great ascended master and all this stuff. And they can fake that, right? But energy also cannot be faked. So eventually you might just catch on to that person and realize that they're not, embodied in their power and in their divine embodiment, but you get to be, right? So I'm sharing all of this because this collapsing is opening you up to your highest, and it is your initiation into the next octave that will carry your next level of impact and visibility. And I know one thing, the leaders who resist this recalibration will keep circling the same patterns. Like you come back next year, they're going to be still cycling the same thing. They're going to be cycling through the same problems. They will not have progressed. But those leaders who do, who embody it, will become the ones that others cannot ignore. And that means allowing yourself to open into what you're pivoting into. And that's one of the things that my Mentorship Accelerator, I have a 3-month Mentorship Accelerator. My container, that container specifically is designed to assist you in calibrating into your next frequency. So if that's something that you'd like to be more connected to, and you'd like to step into that and you'd like my support on that, then just click on the link in the description. But in general, whatever you decide to do moving forward, allow yourself to allow and to surrender into the next level of your power, because resisting it, just because you don't know what it looks like, just because you don't have any safety net, rather than looking at it as a scary thing, I would look at it as something exciting, because it literally is all about perspective. You can either be that person who's going to white knuckle and be afraid because you have no idea what's next, or you're going to be that person who's going to dive in because you don't know what's next. And if you are that latter person, then you're actually going to get a lot more out of this experience, and you're going to have a lot more joy in your expansion as well. So I hope that served you today. Let me know in the comments which ones helped you, what topics I covered, whether it was your identity as a leader shifting, your offers shifting, the level of your clients shifting. Let me know in the comments below what landed for you the most. And if it resonates, subscribe to this channel and like this video, because I would love to share more of this amazing work of how New Earth leaders like you get to up level and also be supported. So much love, light, and power to you.